Hi. Welcome to the Human Design for Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Yvette Mayer, and this show's for you if you're done with cookie cutter marketing and ready to build your personal brand in alignment with who you really are. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Human Design for Marketing podcast with myself, Yvette Mayer. This episode, well, it's an episode I would rather not have to bring to you because life has been really challenging of late. And if you're a regular listener, you will be aware that I have gone through a series or even a season of loss in the last 9 months. I've already shared that I lost my dad 9 months ago. Then 3 months later, my amazing furry best friend. And now, another 5 months on, I sadly share the loss of my mum, which happened just over a week ago, which is why there hasn't been an episode for the past few weeks. And because I am a generator, a sacral generator at that, rather than not share an episode this week when I have been lacking a bit of motivation, I felt into what was important and the urge that I had for sharing. Feeling lit up by it, maybe that's a stretch, but I think this is going to be a really interesting episode for some of you because I'm going to share some different kinds of human design content. Not a whole lot about marketing, although I'll sprinkle that in. But what I am going to share with you today, firstly, is about what to do when you don't know your own or somebody else's exact birth time. And I do get asked this question quite a lot. And yes, it's important in human design to establish accuracy around your energetic blueprint. I'm then going to share with you a bit about my mum through the lens of her human design chart. I'm going to share with you the things that have really left an imprint on me, some of my biggest lessons and things that have come up for me as a result of her passing, and reflect on what I see in her chart. And once again, you can't make this stuff up. Then I'm going to share a bit about when you overlap your chart with somebody else's. I'm actually going to talk a bit about how my chart and my mum's chart work together and how that came through in our relationship dynamics. What we both absolutely love to do. And I'm going to wrap all that up with a really beautiful and exciting special opportunity at the end of the episode. So lots to cover. Now, you won't be surprised to hear that the reason I wanted to talk about finding out the correct birth time, if somebody that you're connected to, or even if it's yourself, if you don't know, is because I didn't know my mum's exact birth time. And my mum has struggled through dementia for at least 10 years. And even when I first came to human design, which was about 6 years ago now, that kind of information wasn't in her memory. So I just didn't know. And, at that point, it wasn't worth a conversation. And I also know that depending on where you live in the world, there might be a different way of you finding out this information by, for instance, the first port of call is going to be your birth parents. If they are not around or they don't know for some reason, then maybe try contacting your hospital that you were born in. Beyond that, some countries list the time of birth on the birth certificate. Australia does not. So there's all these routine things that you can try. And if you can get to the bottom of it, then that's obviously going to give you the most accurate information. But what do you do when you literally have tried all of these things and you still don't know, and you're really wanting to understand yourself or somebody else through the lens of human design. Well, there's a couple of things you can try, and I'm going to share with you the one that I go to. So you can Google birth time rectification or astrological birth time rectification, and there are some websites that have reverse engineered major events in somebody's lifetime to predict their birth time accurately. Now, they're not foolproof, and I've done this on my own time of birth to see if it gave me the right answer. And it was close, it wasn't exact. And I've done it for other people that it just says we can't predict based on the information. But when you're like, I don't know, please help, this is somewhere that you can turn to. The other thing you can do, and this is the way that I have determined my mother's birth time, is use a pendulum. So, of course, given that we're drawn to human design, we understand frequencies and energetics. So pendulums work by reading energy to determine yes or no answers. I bought myself a pendulum only within the last couple of years, and I have used it quite a lot to clarify, help me make decisions, and guide me. But I've also been aware that it could very much read my energy and come up with answers for things like time of birth. So with a pendulum, you set it using your own energy first, and then it either rotates to the right or to the left to give you a yes to the right, or when it rotates to the left, it gives you a no. It's really clear. And so I found myself wanting to dive deeper into my mum's chart, and that's what I turned to. It was so sure, if you know what I mean. So the way I did it was first I asked it if mum was born before midday. So I knew that it was either going to be a yes or no answer. It said no. So then I worked with the second half of the day and I asked it about 12 till 3, no. 3 till 6, no. 6 till 9, yes. Born between 6 and 9 p.m. Then I asked it if she was born between 6 and 7 p.m. Yes. And then I started asking in 5-minute increments until we got to 6:20 p.m. and it said yes. So that's how I was able to accurately, I feel very, very strongly that I accurately pinpointed her birth time using my pendulum. So that's what I would recommend to you as well. If you don't have a pendulum, I'm sure you can buy one online. You can also use your body if you stand still and allow the sway to come through your body. True story, I couldn't find my pendulum, so I tried to use my body to do it, and it was just giving me nothing. And then I got really determined and I found my pendulum, and I was like, oh, thank goodness, because it works so fast and well and definitively. And yes, that's how I was able to get some clarity around my mum's birth time. So I'm going to try not to be emotional in this episode, because as much as it's an emotional time for me, I've actually been very emotional already today. I feel quite grounded at the moment. Let's see how we go. So to tell you a bit about my mum, she was a larger than life, fun loving, super smart, big personality. She was very well known in the community. In fact, at her service last week, it was standing room at the back. So all the seats were full and there were people standing at the back. And there were also 18 people watching on the live stream. So, very, very popular woman. If I look back and outside of these facts that I describe about her, I would also say that she had a really strong sense of what was right and wrong and when to push the boundaries. She loved me and my brother and sister and all the grandkids unconditionally. She had so much time, like she really took time for people and called in on people. Like she made so much effort. And actually, reflecting through these last few weeks, which have been so difficult, the thing that I feel that she has left in me is a deeper desire to care for others and to carry on her legacy of being somebody that remembered to get in touch with people, to genuinely care and reach out and leave that lasting impression that she did. A lot of her other characteristics are so hardwired in me, but I feel like that's a bit of a stretch for me, that I get so lost in my work and my care for my clients that I can almost zone out of my broader community. And so that's really like the biggest thing I feel in me as a lesson over the last few weeks. But it did get me curious around going deeper into her chart, what I could see. And I knew that she had a line 4, obvious. I also knew that, like me, she's a sacral generator, and the only sacral generator in my entire family outside of me. So we're both very loud. We have infectious energy. We're magnetic people. Like, you remember us with this infectious, high, uplifted type of energy. So that is certainly something that I feel is in me genetically, as well as us sharing that kind of nature. We're also, I would use the word impulsive, but it's actually quick to make decisions because of the sacral authority. And she innately did that. She also had splenic authority, so there would be this inner guidance as well as the certainty that comes through having a sacral definition. Now, where we differ is she was a 4/6. And so she lived for connection and relationship and care and community. So it's so hardly surprising that she left such a lasting impression on so many people. She, honestly, amazing, amazing woman. Actually, when I pause, I'm going to tell you a bit more about how we celebrated her life, because it's so true to her. Now, the next thing that is really interesting is she was a cross of laws. So we really fit well together because we're born in, our birth dates were exactly 6 months apart. And when that happens, you have two of the same gates in your sun and earth, but they're flipped. So while I have the gate 3 in my personality sun and the 50 in my personality earth, she had the reverse. So we are very connected in our charts. The cross of laws is a very family-oriented incarnation cross as well. Can't make this stuff up. And it's all about having beliefs and structure around what you believe is appropriate for the tribe. So that can look like your family, or it may look like your broader community. And she certainly set the energy of my home growing up. She dominated our values, not surprisingly, with gate 50 in her personality sun. You know, the way you treat other people, what's right, what's wrong. Okay, here's a really good example of this. My 17-year-old niece spoke at her service, and she told a couple of funny stories. And one of them was that when she was young, she bit her best friend, who's still her best friend to this day. She bit her finger, and my mum bit her finger to show her what it felt like. So my mum, right? It's like teaching right and wrong from the very beginning. So that's really interesting. The other thing I did was to run our charts together to see how we activated each other. And that was really interesting. So you can do this just by pulling the charts off separately and taking a look. I like to use the 64 Keys website because it allows you to actually overlay this. Now, I do have a paid subscription. I'm not sure of the functionality on the free plan, but maybe some of the other sites like Genetic Matrix allow you to do this as well. But when I ran our charts together, even though my chart is so open, I only have the G center and the sacral defined. Together, we have every center except the heart center defined. So together we were this beautiful team, and we really were an amazing team. You know, I've never married, and once I got over the teenage years, the difficulty stage of banging heads with her, which did happen, by the time I was in my 20s, she became my closest friend. And that really was the case all the way through until my early 40s, which is when she got dementia, and that changed our relationship. And I have to say that if you do go through supporting a loved one with dementia, one of the first things that can happen can be losing touch with their empathy, like not really considering others as much. And that really happened with Mum. But Mum's chart is interesting as well. Like, she actually doesn't have a single gate defined in her solar plexus. So no emotional gates whatsoever. And she wasn't a very emotional person outside of fun and high energy and all the sacral energy, but rarely saw her cry or even get particularly angry, if I'm honest. And also her heart center, wheel center, is completely open, and so is mine. And so when you put these things together, we have everything going on. Like, she's a super smart lady. If you got to know her, she would tell you that she had a 130 plus IQ. I heard that a lot of times. And she has both the head and the ajna defined, and the channel of abstraction, which is all about logic and making sense of things. Together, we really did activate each other, but our joint area of openness was the heart center. And, you know, 70% of the population actually have this undefined, and it tends to bring up feelings of low self-worth. It can also make you feel like you need to prove your worth, that you need to prove yourself. And this is something that I definitely felt that I inherited from her before it even came to human design. And even though she was so highly functioning and amazing on so many levels, she put others before herself, and I would say at her personal detriment. She stayed in a very unhealthy marriage with my father for way too long. And I can see that. I can see that in the patterns of her chart as well. So I hope you've taken something from this around how you can work with human design differently. I will say, well, I said I'd share a little bit about the service. So we aren't a particularly religious family. Okay, we're not very religious at all. And we really wanted to celebrate Mum's life with a party and a service that was really true to her and her personality. So we did the service with a celebrant, so someone that kind of hosted it, that only spoke for, I want to say, 4 minutes. And then I spoke about my mum's early years through until around her mid-30s, 40 years of age. And then my sister spoke about how mum was as a grandmother and the more recent years. And we shared the full, amazing, funny, lovable human and character that she was, with story after stories. Like, the room was laughing, the room was crying. Then my sister's children, who were 17, 19, and 22, all spoke about their relationship with my mum. And then my nephews, my brother's two boys, read out a lot of things that were shared with us over the last couple of weeks. Memories of mum, times that she made someone feel special, called in with a bunch of flowers, like all these things were coming to us. Other fun things, she came in to Dancing Queen because her absolute favorite thing in the world was dancing. And so we started with this really upbeat ABBA song. And then as we left, we also had a video with some Bee Gees music. It was just Bee Gees and the Carpenters. They were like some of her favorite music. And then on the way out, we had her favorite other dancing song, which is Leslie Gore, It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want To, which everybody just started laughing. And it really was this amazing, amazing celebration of her life. We then hosted the party afterwards at my sister's, which is the house my mum grew up in. And we catered it, and it was just absolutely epic. And people, I went to bed just after midnight, but the stragglers were there till 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was the way that we celebrated her life, and it was spectacular, and it was such a great representation of her as a human, as a woman, and as a mum. Now, where am I? So I've had to share on what to do in your business when you're going through grief before. And every loss has hit me differently. This one is the biggest. I'll tell you what is really hard. I am also always the person that does the videos for the service, and then my Canva account and all my video editing that I use for work every day are filled with all the photos and images of my mum's whole life. So yeah, I did have a moment today where I was like, I can't look at my Canva account. But here's how I lead myself through these times. I know that grief isn't linear, that sometimes I'm going to be really emotional and other times I'm going to be philosophical. And the best thing I can do is expect to be triggered multiple times through the day, through the weeks, but also actively put practices in place that do the opposite of a trigger, which I've heard called a glimmer. So things that really make me happy. And for me, that looks like going to the gym and feeling the endorphins, journaling, being grateful in my journal, getting dressed in fun outfits every day, which is just a me thing that lifts my mood, spraying myself with beautiful smells, like all of these little things really add up. Going for a walk in nature, meditating, all practices that I'm just doing more routinely at the moment. I will admit, though, in the middle of this absolute devastation and chaos, I did none of these things. So if you're also someone who drops the ball on all this self-care in trauma, hi, me too. But it's now time to move forward, to see the lessons, to, like, for me, one thing that I'm really opening into is I lost my best friend. I didn't lose my mum, but I lost my best friend a long time ago. And so I've grieved that a lot already. But now that she's on the other side, I feel that I can open that conversation back up with her. We can have that relationship again, because she's not dementia mum. She's other mum. She's best friend mum. So that's something that I'm really feeling into and starting to talk to her, which didn't feel right when she was still here. So there's that. I haven't felt as motivated to work this week. It's not surprising, right? I'm exhausted. I spent a week sleeping on a hospital floor. And then all of the emotional, the solar plexus transits, like everything. So I'm just being gentle with myself. I'm doing what feels good. So this podcast is it's not on brand. It's not human design for marketing, but this is what I have the energy for right now. I'm using AI more than normal. I really am, because I don't have, again, my brain's not at full capacity. I don't have the level of creativity I usually have. So I'm relying more on AI to help me with content, which is not something I do all the time. And I'm just being okay. I'm just being okay with the process. And loving the time that I do have one-on-one with private clients. In the Frequency Project, we had a group call this morning, which actually brought happy tears to my eyes, because I'm witnessing the impact of the work that I do and the growth in others. That brings me so much comfort, so much joy. So those things are glimmers for me as well. Like, my work is bringing me these glimmers of, wow, tangible, outcomes, massive breakthroughs. This is what I am leaning back into right now, because my amazing clients were totally okay with me not having a single call over the last couple of weeks. So I am in catch-up mode, but it's also very healing for me to be doing that. So that's what I've prioritized, being present for my, my private clients who invest heavily to work with me, and showing up for them with my full heart and brain, as well as in the Frequency Project, which is my most high proximity group program. The same thing there, and that has really been very nurturing for me. I am hopeful that I'm going to feel a bit better and more connected next week. I'm actually going to have one of my amazing clients on as a guest next week. We had our call today, and I was like, you know what? I really want to talk about wealth consciousness and energetics, which is her area of genius, through the lens of human design. So that's going to be coming to you next week. And then to finish off, I said I had a special invitation. So one of the things that my mum and I shared, amongst many, was an absolute love for adventure. And travel was high, high, high on the list of things we did together. We traveled all around the world together. We went to the London Olympics. We drove what's the road from the Napa Valley down to San Diego? We drove that road together. She came out to the Hamptons with me. She came to a friend's wedding in Bali, and oh, look, so many other trips. And that's something that I do have energy for right now, is to start sharing about my France retreat this July. So just today, I have publicly shared to my email list, to my Instagram stories, the information for the France retreat. It is called Aligned, Amplified, and Abundant. It's a true fusion of taking care of you, better connecting with self and purpose, and how you're designed to live in alignment with your higher self, and the marketing side of going deep into you and your business and your offers, and making sure that you have these beautiful soulful funnels set up that give you a business that also brings a lot of freedom to you. And I know how important that is to me, and I believe to you as well. So if you want to hear more about France, I will leave the link in the show notes, but you can also head over to Instagram and DM me, and we can have a chat about whether it's right for you. It's the 17th to the 22nd of July. Limited spots. They're going to move pretty quickly. So if this is calling for you, please let me know. And thanks for your patience with me over this last little while. I really appreciate you being here, and look forward to being back in your ears again real soon. Bye for now. There are heaps more resources in the show notes. I can't wait to be back in your ears again soon. Bye for now.